So do you want to start with Microstock using a drone, but you don't know which drone you should choose? Should you choose an FPV drone or a cinematic drone? Today I will show you my experience and which one I choose preferably. So let's dive straight in. I'm a Microstock contributor since 2012. In this video I like to show that there's a difference between cinematic drones and FPV drones. I personally use both. I flew the DJI Air 2. I built a Cinewhoop, which is a slow flying drone for indoor, and you can actually fly close to people because they have propeller guards. I built it myself. I also flew a pre-built Nazgul Evoke F5, which is a really quick drone. It has a GoPro strapped to it, and also I have the drone I currently fly, which is the DJI Mavic 3, a cinematic drone. Now I contribute to agencies like Adobe Stock, Getty Images, Shutterstock, Storyblocks, Dreamstime and Pond5. I make a good amount of passive income, which is growing every year. In 2021 I made $6,000. The following year I made over $11,000. And in 2023 I almost made $22,000, almost doubling my income. And in this year so far I made almost $16,000, and we're now at August. So I think I will surpass my record of last year. Now there are two types of drones, as I already mentioned. I make the categories of cinematic drones and FPV drones. Now first I like to show you what are cinematic drones exactly. Cinematic drones are really easy to use. They're plug and play, easy user interface, no learning. You can just get the drone and start flying right away. Now they create high resolution video and photos, 4K usually, but even 8K on a DJI Inspire 3. They're very stable and GPS oriented, so once you let go of the controls, the drone will remain stable at this position, which makes it easy to use. The steering goes along 3 axes, so move the right stick left and the drone will go left. Move it right and it will go right. Press it forward and the drone will go forward. Pull it back and the drone will go back. On the left side we have the left stick. Pull it down and the drone will go down. Press it up and the drone will gain altitude. Pull it left and the drone will turn around its axis, and vice versa. They possess a camera on a gimbal. It keeps the camera steady, tilt the camera forwards and backwards. Cinematic drones are also pretty safe. They have obstacle sensors 360 degrees around them sometimes, so once they fly in the vicinity of an obstacle, they notice it and they stop, and they can fly around it automatically. As you can see here, you can choose that the drone brakes or bypasses it. Also they have a return to home feature, so once you lose the signal with the drone, it automatically comes home the position where you took off. And they have a relatively long battery life. So the Mavic 3 claims to have a battery life of 46 minutes. Most of the time you don't actually get 46 minutes out of it, but this depends on the factors like wind, how fast you fly. So Usually you get more than 20 minutes out of it, I would say. Also, cinematic drones have intelligent flight modes. They can follow you, they can create time-lapse. You can also select objects in the screen, and then the camera will stay focused on the subject you selected, which can really help you create nice cinematic movements. Price range is around starts at around $900 up to $22,000 for a really cinematic Hollywood grade drone. Now here I have a range of drones. I personally like DJI. It's one of the most famous and well-known brands. I think they're one of the best brands for cinematic drones. Top one is the DJI Mini 4 Pro. It is the lowest weight, also the lowest price, and also the lowest image quality. Now also keep in mind that the weight of the drone has impact on the legal rules. For example, the DJI Mini 4 is under 250 grams, which makes it easier in the registration process. And at the other end of the spectrum, we have the DJI Inspire 3. It can go up to $22,000 depending on the accessories you buy. Also has the highest weight, the highest price, but also the best image quality, like 8K output. Now next I want to show you what are FPV drones. FPV drones can do this. FPV drones use goggles, so you put on a goggle on your face, and then you can see what the drone sees, which makes it really intense. Now there are two types of FPV drones. There are the self-built and there are the ready-to-fly. Now the self-built are the drones which it all started with. Mostly they are built from different components, and the steering is different from cinematic drones. It's fully acrobatic, so you can also flip it and make loops, and they're even used as racing drones, so they go quickly around objects as fast as they can. So that's a big difference to cinematic drones. Cinematic drones don't really flip, but it also comes with a great difficulty, so you need a lot more control over the drone. They are usually used to fly close to objects and people, because that makes the most interesting videos, and they have a pretty steep learning curve. So if you first start flying an FPV drone, you're probably gonna crash, but in order to prevent it, you need at least I would say 20 hours in an FPV simulator on the computer, so you can learn the movements and not crash. And also you need a lot of post-processing, because once you have the GoPro footage, you also need to stabilize it. Here you see me using Real Steady Go. Going from this to this. And in a cinematic drone you already have it stabilized because of the gimbal. Now all these systems you need quite some technical knowledge in order to make it all work, and that's what DJI did very cleverly. They made a really easy to use system, more plug and play. Also it has digital signal, high definition footage in the goggles. They also added like safety modes, so GPS or obstacle avoidance, and return to home. They have usually longer battery life. On FPV drones, they're usually pretty powerful. They comes at the cost of the battery life, so they can fly 6 minutes or so, while the FPV drones of DJI 10 to 20 minutes. And the major difference is that the systems work well together because it's made by one fabrication here. On an FPV self-build, you have all these different systems that need to be compatible with each other, and that can cause problems. While at DJI it's all integrated from one creator, and then it all works together. So you also have only one camera, while here you need at least two. And also they usually GPS oriented, while it's also possible with FPV drones, but you need to build it in. Well, on the DJI FPV drone it has it standardly. Now I made a comparison. I graded a couple of factors, cinematic drone versus FPV drones. Of course, you can have differences in the type of drones, but this is like an average score, I would say. So the ease of use for a cinematic drone, I give it an 8 out of 10. You really don't need to learn it. You can just go outside, grab the drone and fly without crashing. While an FPV drone is pretty difficult, especially if you're going to build one yourself. You need a lot of technical skills. You need to install all the components, maybe solder even, and then you need to learn to fly. So you also need a simulator. And you also need to learn about the batteries and how to charge them. So I give it a 4.5 out of 10. Now the safety, I give it an 8.5 out of 10 for the cinematic drone, because it has all these safety features like GPS, obstacle avoidance. So yeah, I usually don't crash. I never crashed with the cinematic drone. While with an FPV drone, you also, in order to get good footage, you will fly close to objects, so it's inevitable you're going to crash. And yeah, also if you build it yourself, there's also a lot of risk of something going wrong, like wrong contact, and then it can fall easily out of the sky. So yeah, I give it a 5.5 out of 10. The sound, a cinematic drone can be relatively quiet. FPV drone can be obnoxiously loud. They also have a little bit less power usually, and they're more high in the sky, so people don't notice them. While an FPV drone can be really obnoxiously loud with a high pitch. It can really scream, so a lot of people can find it annoying, and especially if you fly close to objects, people will notice it. So I give it a 4.5 out of 10. Now the price, the cinematic drone is a bit more expensive usually, because if you buy an FPV drone, you buy the goggles and the remote, and then you can hook up multiple drones to your to the remote and the goggles. So if you buy multiple FPV drones, it can be more inexpensive. So I give it an 8 out of 10, and a cinematic drone a 7 out of 10. Now the intensity and the fun factor, definitely high number for the FPV drone, as it's really an adrenaline rush to fly one, especially in the mountains where you go close to objects. It feels like you're flying. It can be really intense, also because of the speed, the sound it produces, and the high risk involved. So yeah, I give it a 9 out of 10, and the cinematic drone also 7 out of 10, which yeah, it can also be very satisfying to have a nice look on a beautiful sunset skyline. Now it also depends on which drone is most suitable for you. Is the area of use. Definitely see different areas of use for them, the most suitable. Cinematic drones are mainly for outdoor. Of course you can fly them indoor, but because of the camera, an FPV drone has a more wide angle lens. So if you fly a wide angle lens over a city skyline, it really does not work. It gives not a good image. So you really need to fly close to things. And also certain FPV drones are suitable for indoor. I think you've probably seen FPV drones flying through buildings, giving tours, flying close to underneath objects, and so that makes it suitable for indoor. And also FPV drones are more suitable to follow objects like cars or somebody cycling and close to people. And a cinematic drone is a bit less suitable for that. It's possible, of course. Cinematic drone also gives a great overview over things. So yeah, there's a really distinction between the area of use, and also it can usually zoom in, so you can zoom into objects far away. The Mavic 3 can zoom into 27 times actually. Now, what drone is best for me? I think you have to ask yourself some questions like, what topics and concepts do you want to capture? I think it's also very important to notice it's not really what you want, but it's also very important to understand what the buyers want to buy. Market needs, you have to look at them. How much time are you willing to invest? Do you want to fly straight away, or do you really want to build a drone yourself and start learning how to fly? That will take some more time. And yeah, in what kind of environment do you fly? Do you live in the mountains or do you live in a city environment? If you live in the mountain, I would take an FPV drone more easily. And if I want to film a skyline or an overview over a city, I would take a cinematic drone. And also, what is your budget? Now, the higher your budget, the better kit you can buy. So higher, better image sensor, or more high-end drone. And also always consider drone regulations. So a cinematic drone usually are more safe, so they have they can fly in more places, and also the weight class is important. So the more lightweight your drone, the more likely you are allowed to fly at more places. And also look at the technical requirements. So from the Microstock media marketplaces, usually they appreciate higher image quality. Some even don't accept 8K yet. Good to have a good image sensor and at least 4K image quality. And also keep in mind that your hardware is very important. Once you go and shoot 8K, they're really big files, and you need a really powerful computer and large storage space to be able to handle that. I'd like to show you my choice. So, well, I mainly capture in an urban environment, so I do skylines, I do industrial buildings and landmarks mainly. Invest at least 20 hours a week. I was willing to learn, so I did like an FPV drone and a cinematic drone, where I wanted to learn how to build one, so I was able to repair it in case of a crash. And I also had the time to learn fly in a simulator. I like to be a bit more stealthy, so I don't want to bother people. I want to respect people, their privacy, and I don't want to make too much noise. So for me, a cinematic drone is then the way to go. And sometimes I go to the mountains. In the Netherlands we don't have mountains, so we're really a dense, crowded country. It's better to have a stealth drone, and because if I fly with an FPV drone, a lot of people will notice it and may find it disturbing. Now the budget for my last drone was like 2,000 plus. For me, it's like an good investment, because I do Microstock very seriously. I put on over 2,000 for a Mavic 3, because I liked really the image sensor, and yeah, it improved my acceptance rate, and yeah, it's good for my customers, I would say, to have a high quality video output. 95% of the time I use my cinematic drone, and 5% I use my FPV drones. So the FPV drone I use when I go on in the mountains or in nature. I also had a lot of technical difficulties with an FPV drone, putting all these systems together, and sometimes it really does not function properly. Camera shaking, or problems with the batteries and the charging, or a crash because of the drone is not built well. Well, with a cinematic pre-built drone I don't have them at all. I never crash. Also with an FPV drone you need an extensive editing process. So once you capture it, you need to stabilize it. So it's also a lot of work. And also you crash a lot, or you're going to crash. It's inevitable with an FPV drone. But on the other hand, it's lots of fun, and it really gives me a rush. So yeah, I really like to fly with an FPV drone for fun. Now, cinematic drone, as I already said, it's very stealthy, so you don't get too many attention. It really is a high quality output. It's relatively safe with all this GPS and object recognition and obstacle avoidance. I rarely have technical issues. It always works really well. Long battery life, so I can fly for 30 minutes on end. And I have all these flight modes, so it gives me the opportunity to create hyperlapse or following of objects. So yeah, it really gives me a lot of options to shoot in high quality outputs. And for me, it's also a good investment. A high quality output is a good investment for me, because I will earn it back over time. This is why I choose cinematic drone over an FPV drone most of the time. I hope it helps you choose a drone for yourself in order to participate or start contributing to Microstock marketplaces. And if you have any questions, please let me know in the comments, and I will try to help you as well. So thank you, and please hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.